Team deathmatch. Enemy threats in the AO. Weapons hot. We're in the lead. Enemies on the lead. Hustle up. Got control. Contact. You've lost the lead, soldier.
Reloading. Throwing. Reloading. Check your fire.
Got your back.
No ammo.
I have your back.
I'll come in. I'll come along.
Taking fire. Enemy UAV overhead.
Bloody fire!
Man, bro, this could be a fucking hell on my thing. I'm not fucking me up.
Enemy personal radar in the air.
Reloading.
Reloading.
Enemies halfway there. Step it up. cluster strike incoming. Take cover.
Hold there. Reloading. Back up!
Changing mag.
I'm taking fire! Reloading. Flash out!
Enemy personal radar in the air.
Reloading. I have to reload.
I knew it would come. Where the fuck it come from?
Enemy personal radar in the air.
Grenade up!
Taking fire!
Flash out! Contact!
Enemy cluster strike incoming. Take cover. Enemy personal radar in the air. Friendly UAV overhead. We're on to lead. Move out.
Reloading.
zones. Keep pushing.
Load. Reloading. All door out!
Reloading! Throwing grenade!
They're losing ground. Focus.
Taking fire!
Reload!
Changing mags. Reloading.
Grenade down!
Babe. We're heading south, so I don't know if you want to come with me or not. What is up? Okay. What is up? What is up? can do it, man. You always say that when you get smell that coochie. As soon as you can smell that coochie, you're like,
Well, and I'm hairy. So when I'm hairy, I can't. I don't, if I wasn't hairy, I'd probably wouldn't even smell. When you're sweating.
girl, you and my waffles, cuz. I just started eating breakfast and you tearing my stuff up. Lisa, save me too, bro. Please, I'll buy some more today. I really wouldn't care if you don't like going to the grocery store.
Worst case scenario, I'll go to the grocery store tomorrow. That's worst case scenario. I just need to take a shower. There's 3. Yeah, that shit smells good as fuck, man. Get it together down here. Got them off the floor. This one's just been crying.
Lipsy all day, huh?
Yeah, look at him. What? You need a friend. You need a friend.
Well, you know what we need to do? We need to buy some plastic cups and plastic stuff so we can just throw this shit away. Plug it in and it just rolls around.
That would be nice because then when we're done with our dishes, we could. That'd be really fucking dope. That'd be nice. Alright, so where do we go on Avenue?
That little street off of South Ave. It's the same street.
No, that's not Avondale. You're talking about when we used to go to Scooters?
No. I was looking for
Yeah, that's on Street. It was on, yeah, that's not Avondale, though. That's not Avondale.
It was one of those side roads back there by it, though.
It's,
No, it wasn't Avondale. Avondale where I met him at. He was at the corner. He was at the gas station on the corner of Avondale. It was up towards, you're right. It was up towards that gas
it's
station.
to the left. You come to the come to the light and you make a left and the house is on the right.
I don't know what that shit was called. It was like a little...
Lucius?
It wasn't the same house, but it was the same. Avondale's way down.
Detroit.
No, it's like when you get to the light where a gas station's right there, you go straight up that fork, you go left, you turn right before you go that road. Where that store is, that little corner store is. Wow.
Yeah, and okay, there's that court. That's fucking, I know, that's exactly what, I know, that's where we used to go see Scooter, the white man's house.
Well, his house was to the left. You turn left, like you on South Ave going towards up by your mom.
You would go left.
Left. I went right. Back in that neighborhood, like back there.
Fucking be a good dope.
I don't know if it's that good. I tried it, but it didn't seem to be It seemed good at first, but then it went away. That Betty walk you doing that shit. Like I felt it at first. But then like I didn't do that over. You know what I mean?
How do you know it was Marquise though?
Because dude was like, come on, please, man, hurry up. And then when I seen his face, I remember his face right there.
Was he short?
He looks a little different now. Yeah. He looks a little different now.
Dark hair?
No
Like
facial hair and shit now. Yeah, it was definitely. House didn't even look like it was smoking. Anybody who been in that didn't even occupy. They just come over there doing it. Like, yeah. That's where the white boy took me. He said that the good guy with the good dope had to wait till tomorrow. This was just for the feeling.
Oh, so this ain't the good though. So why did he take you there? Why did he take you to Marquise?
Just to get us some dope, I guess, but he should have told me until he didn't tell me until I was on the steps.
Did he say this dope was good though?
Yeah, he was like, it's still good though. It's still good. It's fine. I guess the guy with the good.
I was gonna say, I know Marquise ain't flying to fucking Detroit and shit.
Yeah, that ain't him.
That's what when you said Keith, I'm like, ain't no way in fuck Marquise is flying to Detroit. I think Marquise does that.
Probably do. A lot of niggas do boy, man. It happened because of them damn perks. It's just like, that's just how it happened. We got to rap it, and that's how it happened. That shit smacking. Woo! Man, that's probably the best grilled cheese I ever made in my life. Holy moly. Alright, I'll use this from there.
Well, I'm glad I didn't know that.
Oh, you probably won't stay
So you got a gram or half gram? For 6 weeks.
That's still a decent price for a gram.
So it didn't make you feel sick or nothing like that?
No, I didn't make me sick.
You gotta understand, babe, we just dosed at 11.
So you think that could have made me so sick because I dosed?
Why, you feel sick?
No.
No, I'm just saying, like, we really should have held on to that until tonight, but...
Yeah, no, I was just... Well, why you say you want some stuff?
Because, I do, but... we need to save some for...
I got it, and I just wanted to try it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do little lines today, man. I ain't doing
We'll get a
big ass
straw.
ones. I did a decent amount of car.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did a decent amount of car.
Why'd you do so much?
Because I wanted to know if it was good or not. You know when you do, but then I put something back before I did it. I'm like, I don't want to do this much because if it's something that would take me out, then I still did a decent amount. I was feeling good for like 20 minutes and now I'm gone. That's weird. That's fitting all in, right? Right? When you feel good. I scheduled an appointment next Tuesday to get my hair done.
Oh, did you? We just gotta try to save some of this for tonight. Am I gonna feel that if I do that?
Yeah, you probably will. That's not what I did. Don't knock that motherfucker over.
I'm not. We're going to do some.
What, you want to see? But get it? It's so good, dude. My grilled cheese is amazing right now. Like, it is amazing. And when you put it in this tomato soup,
Oh, it burns.
Man, that grilled cheese is amazing. Jesus, that's something different. I'll tell you what, hell better not bring that evil energy, that bad energy up in here again, man.
Who?
She got a bad energy.
Who?
Oh, ain't that her name, Nikki? I was going out to the car,
She was
I
there.
swear to God, her door like opened and then closed, like a screen though. Like she was just spying on me or something. I'm like, let's keep that evil energy in that apartment, bitch.
Right, don't bring that because it's been real gravy without you, bitch.
It's nice.
Okay, have some oil.
Yeah, you gotta just go get you a bottle. You got to,
I gotta get the kids gifts. I gotta order Camp's toy.
Yeah, why don't you order it?
You got your, the money's on your card?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. I'm gonna get all their baskets and everything. I'm gonna do everything online. And I'm gonna have it set for
$1 billion,
pickup.
dog, because we gotta get how to do it. What the fuck happened to my oil? I had just
You left
put
it in the car, didn't you?
Oh, I just put it in my bag, my fanny pack. I hope I didn't drop it. This gotta be in the car, cause like I had just put it in my fanny pack. Oh, it fell out of my fanny pack.
Yeah, I just don't want it by the boy. I still think we should make that boy back a little bit because he's nosy as fuck. I gotta go spend the day with Cam one of these days. I gotta get my ass over there.
Yeah, you gotta do at least 3 days a month with him since you're doing 4 with her. You know what I mean? At least 3 with him.
I told my mom I was
Remember
going
them
to do
too?
once or twice a week, and I skipped last week. This week's damn near over. And he heard me asking my mom, what should I get him for Easter? He was so devastated. Like, Mom, you don't think you'll be able to find me anything for Easter?
What,
I'm like, no, babe.
What you mean?
Because I, like, told my mom, like, you need to let me know what I need to get him for Easter. You know what I mean? He was listening.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not going to be able to find me anything for I'm like, baby, I'm going to be able to find
You got
something for
it.
Easter, baby.
Well, you
Don't
got
worry.
it. Well, that was, you know.
Don't worry, baby. I'm going to be able to find you something. Don't
You
worry.
told me that a long time ago.
Well, you were just so assuming that I was trying to impress my damn mom.
You ain't tell me that.
Alright.
Team deathmatch.
His toy.
Get your kids out.
Toy is
Time to hunt.
important. So I need that for pickup. So I can get that and get that for pickup. I'm just gonna get them these 98-cent buckets. They're for Easter, you know what I mean? You lying bitch.
What?
Maya's is out of stock. Fuck! Alright, I'll find her another one. I'll get her another
Deadliest firing mechanisms on the planet. Primary.
This shit's out of stock now.
Hello, baby.
Camp shit's out of stock. Everything.
Oh, black queen.
Shit. It's out of stock everywhere?
Service utility.
Ooh, lying, bro.
Oh, there I'm on fire.
Taking fire!
Wow.
It's gonna be a new creation. They're gonna have to do something. We're gonna do something funny, right? We'll just make
God damn!
go to heaven. Maybe we'll get to hang out.
Contact.
How the fuck do you get it? I was still doing like that.
Report.
They hear all
Go to heaven.
Taking fire! Reloading.
Ah!
Can anyone hear me? Hello?
Yeah!
I need to hear people's voices. Can you guys hear me? Do you have mics on?
Yeah!
Hello?
Can you hear
How you doing?
me?
Oh, we got enemies.
Headset on.
I'm on fire. Holy crap, dude. There's a guy with flame rounds, dude. Incendiary rounds.
I like this headset. This is my baby.
I know it's weird shooting. Dude, what the heck? Hey.
Contact! Enemy at the center.
Alright, we got smoke. Go into the smoke. Go.
Alright, here we go.
On the left side, where the smoke was at.
Friendly cluster strike inbound.
Oh shit!
Don't go homeless.
I swear to God, if you stand still, sometimes they'll run right past you. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Enemy at the back alley.
Right behind you, Farber. I'm going with you, Barber.
Reloading.
My nose, man. God, bitch!
Enemies halfway there. Step it up. Friendly counter UAV active.
Hold on, mute my shit.
Taking fire!
Second floor of the building that's on fire, I believe. Yeah, they're up there. He prone. He went crouch. He's crouched by the window. He moved. He's moving.
I don't
Watch
think
that dude
my
up
shit
there,
will
man.
let me mute.
Second floor of that building, whoever you are. Oh, the mailman. Oh, man. The mailman. The black mailman just attacked me.
I don't know if my mic
dude.
is working. Oh, it's working. Never mind.
Hell, he has no hand. Holy crap, the mail, dude, the postal service is connected to Seminole
Enemy at the back
octopuses.
alley.
Reloading.
There's
They're
a
on the second
bit.
floor of that burned building, man.
There's a
Oh, I got hit again
bit.
by the mailman.
Who the fuck is the
Reloading.
mailman?
Hey, you guys are about to watch me kill somebody one more day. Ready? Sucker! Blah. Hey, can you see me? In the name of Allah. Allah Akbar. Blah, 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 blah. Allah,
Nah,
Allah
don't
finger.
play with Akbar. Don't you play with Allah name not like that. Psych.
I'm Allah, dude.
I
I
don't
really
even care.
am. I returned to Earth to finish the Bible. You don't even know what's going on the planet Earth, dude. I can kill people with a video game. My name's Jonathan Estevez. I'm God, Allah, Lord Henry, and I'm here. So if you really worship Allah, then, well, what's up? We're best friends then. You came back to life and you got heaven opened up over you. So wake up. Look up, man. Look up. Whoever said that. Hey, can you hear me down there? What's up? Hello. Hey. What's
I
up, man?
want
God
some of
bless
whatever
you.
drug you on.
Go
I
to
want
heaven,
some of that
Holmes.
shit, dog. Can I get
Go to
some
heaven,
drug?
Holmes.
Can I get some the drug
I'm
you
real,
got?
man. I'm the guy that's making the world shake, dude.
Can I get
You
some of
guys
what
just
you
have to
got?
protect yourself and believe in Christ Jesus. He's Esau. Esau's my kid.
Hey,
Who's Jesus? He
hey,
died for our
Allah,
sins.
Allah.
Yep.
Let me
Enemy
get some of
cruisers
your
What's up?
drugs. Can I get some of the drugs you got? Cause that
I
shit.
drink, man. I drink and I might smoke some weed, but I don't do anything else. I don't do meth or nothing like that.
Meth.
I'm
You
from
jump
Pueblo,
straight to
man.
meth,
Pueblo,
bro.
Colorado.
Jesus Christ.
Get down!
I forgot meth is
That's my son.
it's the new trend out here. Everybody's doing meth. Allah, his name is Allah Akbar.
You got it right. Holy crap, they're coming to attack.
He
Hold on.
thinks he's the next coming of Christ or God or whatever.
How do you get it to
See, there's heaven all over the world. There's so much gold. Reverse.
Oh man, he talks a lot. What's up, babe?
Friendly UAV online.
That's all you gotta do is
Nifty,
watch
why
Marlo
is you
and
in my
John
face like
Hernandez,
that,
man.
dude? You're freaking me out. I
Just
don't
push
know,
them away,
babe.
man.
What website are you using?
It was you had a ghost spirit in front of your face, didn't you? That woman's crazy, man. She might want to suck your penis. Do not let a ghost suck your
Friendly
penis.
wheels on.
Damn, I
Because
just
they
got
want
stabbed in my
seminal
motherfucking shit. Farber, that's who he is. I'm sorry, Farber. I had to mute you.
check out?
Farber was talking to them much.
Enemy movement!
Less than a minute.
Down!
I gotta get a laptop because it makes doing my shipments and stuff way easier for Amazon. Even if I get a printer and I can print out my own shit. Got him! Whoa!
We'll attack them harder
I
next
had
time.
like 2 fucking kills. It's pathetic.
So the only place is in Chippewa?
Chippewa, Alabama. That's where I was born and raised. On the west side of where I spent most of my days, chilling out, relaxing, with a couple of guys. They were up to no good. Thought of getting them in the neighborhood. I got one little fight. My mom got scared. She said, "What's your auntie and uncle in Bel Air?" I pulled up to the house about 7 or 8, and I yelled to them, "You home? Smell you later."
Oh, I can't drive to Alliance or Beaver Falls for this.
Beaver Falls is far as fuck.
Dude, they're both 20 minutes away. Chippewa Town Center, that's 22.7 miles. And then Alliance is 27.4 miles.
Beaver Falls is like 2 hours away. I drove to Beaver
Hey,
Falls.
but it says it right here. It's 22.7 miles, Beaver Falls.
Google, use Google, and it'll tell you. You were. They must think you're somewhere else. They must think you're in Pittsburgh. That's where they probably got you at, because you're not in Pittsburgh. But Beaver Falls from us is like 2 hours away. Google it. Well, I'll do it right now. I went to Beaver Falls.
I'll give you the exact address, and then so don't just Google Beaver Falls.
Why? It's Beaver Falls. It's Beaver
Because
Falls.
we're going to a certain place. It's 100 Chippewa Town Center.
That's not Beaver Falls. That's Chippewa Town Center.
Beaver Falls.
Okay.
100 Chippewa Town, Beaver Falls. That's Walmart Supercenter. It says 22.7 miles.
Miles it says on here. No, 43 minutes, 34 miles.
That's crazy.
I told you it was far. 43 minutes is a travel. When I drove, I swear, when I came from Warren there though, it took me like an hour and a half.
Take
That
it
sounds
out.
probably closer to it.
Enemy threats in the AO. Weapons
Warren,
on.
you closer.
Check your fire!
Throwing grenade! Roll one.
I'm coming, let's go.
I gotta switch guns because I'm having issues. Yeah, you feel it for like that first 10-15 minutes and then it goes away. Because I feel it. The thing is, you don't have to do big lines to feel
Friendly
it.
UAV
So.
overhead.
Why?
The back corner near helicopter.
Taking fire!
This tomato soup.
Thermite out! Hostile!
I'm telling you, don't do it real cheap without tomato soup, but I learned that from white people.
Enemy at the
White
container.
people eat grilled cheese. Tomato soup all the time.
Throwing smoke!
Enemy at the center.
I'll cover.
Enemy at the container.
Grenade out!
Friendly VTOL on station for
Why the
all.
fuck can't I jump over that little punk ass rock?
Enemy at the center.
Get off the ground! That was a nice kill though. Oh, nippy.
Enemy personal radar in the air.
Good damn skippy. Rolling with my ball. Nippy.
Enemy at the container.
Damn, I get smacked. Oh, he got me from behind, you little dick. You little dicker.
Japanese government.
Bitch!
Enemy UAV overhead.
Enemy at the center.
Fuck out of my house, dude.
God damn, nigga ain't even got no gun, man. Killing people with his bare hands and shit. Fucking crazy motherfucker.
Yes. Dang. Yeah, they're Russian, dude, and they're Chinese too, or something, man. Or they're rogue operatives. Dang, dude, whole
Enemy
boy.
VTOL in the AO.
Hostiles in the
Enemy.
air!
Allied. Enemy cruise missile incoming.
Got him! Bitch, good shit. You snuck up on me, you got me. Cause I was down there bodying shit. Ah, It takes two to take me
They're
out.
up camping.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah.
What kind of gun is this? I'm gonna try that out. Oh, he's got a good. Oh no, it moves. Fucking. Oh, shit. Had no kind of fucking. What the hell? Bro, they keep spawning me right in front of these motherfuckers so they can kill me. Like, come on, dude.
Enemy cruise missile incoming.
They're coming from blue building.
Ah, I'm shot.
Who the fuck is shooting me?
Enemy at the center.
Enemy in the
They're up
center.
camping top.
Okay.
Enemy's got the lead. Hustle up.
Oh my god, I'm having a horrible game, dude. I don't know what to do. It's just bored. I've never liked this board.
UAV overhead.
It's just dumb.
We're losing this fight. Get your head
Too
to the
easy to
game.
get fucking. Oh my god.
Enemy UAV overhead.
That was probably play of the game. That motherfucker shot like 4 of us at once.
Nobody question. Nobody question.
We came close though. We kinda came close. Oh, we got a headshot with that bitch. Bro, somebody was on top of that helicopter pad. Bro, you might just have to go to the mall and just.
I'm gonna have to go to Walmart.
Ain't gonna be shit at Walmart. Ain't gonna be shit there.
The mall's not gonna have Easter baskets and shit. I don't know.
Target. Target will have them.
Alright, well, looks like I'm rolling to Walmart today. Target, we're in Target. We're on Walmart.
Yeah, I know that's right. I'm still a harlot. So they got new levels on this bitch, on this Call of Duty now, cause they upgraded it, and it's fucking, the one level is dope as fuck. I think they only got one new level. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I was gonna shoot a can, bro. You did not have to kill me. I wasn't even trying to be violent.
And I need to look for this Power Rangers Dino Circus.
Target down.
Reloading.
Alright. So I'm chilling until I wash my ass and shit and move on. And you don't have to.
You gonna be ready to steal?
Really?
You always shower before you go see Ernie. Ain't that his name?
What?
Don't you? You always shower before you go see Ernie?
How do you know Ernie's gonna be there?
He's always there.
Nigga, I'm taking a shower. I don't give a fuck when I'm going to Walmart or whatever, I'm not taking a shower. Or what, just washing my ass even. I don't even care if I need to take a whole shower, but definitely wash my ass. Washing my vagina.
You want a clean vagina?
No, Jim, I want a dirty vagina. Come on now. Come on.
You want a dirty vagina?
Come on, you say dumb shit.
I said that on purpose. You think I don't think anybody wants a dirty vagina besides fucking.
You need to shower before you go Ernie. No, nigga, I need to wash my fucking pussy.
You need to wash your pussy?
I want you to be ratchet as fuck. Come on, man.
She ratchet.
You want me to be nasty, nasty all the time.
Feel nasty? I don't want you to feel nasty.
Well, then don't say dumb shit.
It ain't my fault your hair was matted because you hadn't brushed it in 7 months. When you grew dreadlocks. It ain't my fault, baby. Blame it on the alcohol. My baby forever. I try to keep her dirty so nobody can steal my baby. Who in the fuck is shooting me? Oh, there you go. He up there. He hit me with a
Enemy in the
handgun
cargo container.
from 40 feet out. Okay, bitch.
Enemy in port.
Hold up! I've been live for so long on YouTube, dog. Who did? Ha! I told you. Tell me I'm a genius. Thank you.
I don't think Target has Maya stuff.
Enemy in the train track.
Well, you know Debbie. You know Debbie. Whoa!
Enemy cluster strike incoming. Take cover. Enemy's halfway there. Step it up. Enemy personal radar in the air.
Enemy in the train track.
Oh, you barely got me, you puss. I seen you coming.
order Cam's thing for pickup now because I only have 7
How much
left.
is it?
So we'll go to Target and get my stuff.
How much is this thing?
Probably like under $10.
Oh, that's cheap.
It's the Lego, yeah. That's why I just want to get them maybe like, if I could find his DVD, I'll get him a DVD, a toy, some candy, like a stuffed animal, or like a shirt.
Yeah, it's Easter.
And
Yeah.
then Maya, same thing. We'll get her a life thing, get her like a shirt or something, and some candy. They don't want candy. Okay. How much is this?
Enemy at the minecart.
Okay, this is $19.89. Which is something for JoJo, right?
JoJo, see why.
We really don't gotta do too much for Maya because we got 2 toys in there, you know what I mean?
Thermite out!
Alright. This is pretty cool. Comes with a car.
Enemy at the train track.
And you get 3 characters. This is cool.
Were you able to get the basket, like the actual basket? Or you gotta figure that out still? Fuck!
They're baskets? I mean, I guess if I can find some stuff on Target, I could just have it all ready for when we go there and pick it up. I could do that.
I'm tired of getting my ass whooped by these people,
Oh, wait.
bro.
She said download their app.
This right here shows you who he loves more. See how he's sitting by me? This shows you who he loves more right here. You love me more, don't you, Nippy? Sometimes he just wants you to slap his ears. He likes that shit. Woo! Good job, Papa. Papa. I wonder if I can get in that new board. I just want to get to that new board one time.
Get there.
Get there. Why am my vape not working today right? It's like barely smoking.
What's wrong?
I think I need a new coil. That's what it is. You love them damn ears, boy. They're gonna be the death of you, nigga. Woo!
Enemy at the construction site. Enemy UAV overhead.
Team deathmatch.
What? Dude,
Let's on. Enemy
bullets
precision
hitting my
airstrike. Inbound.
fucking
Pick up.
shield while I'm using a different weapon. What? Dumb. I know the bullets.
Bitch! How the fuck did he kill both of us?
5 seconds.
Target ID. Enemy at the construction site.
They in that building fucking holding it down, I see. Bro, this dude is literally shooting through walls and killing me, bro.
What? Dude, this is dumb. I'm just switching my weapon and then it hits with the weapon I'm currently holding. What?
Enemy VTOL in the AO.
Enemy at the destroyed building.
Man, no shit there at the destroyed building. You lazy as fuck. We've been getting mollywopped. Alright. My whole team is... we getting our ass whooped. Oh, we getting our ass whooped. I'm out of here, guys. See ya. Nah, I'm out of here, dog. I don't like getting whooped like that. I leave. Putting that shit on my record. I want my record clean, huh, Nip? I want my shit to say 1,000,000. They're gonna be like, how the fuck did he lose 0? Cause I'm a man. I'm the man. That's your hair. You can have that back.
Okay.
Oh. Nipsey, you lick your balls with that same tongue, and you gonna put it on my face? I love you, nigger dog. You're my favorite dog in the nigger world. That shit got me sleepy right now. Why you gotta rest your head on my...
Get your teeth out.
Bro, these niggas is behind us.
Enemy cruise missile incoming.
Grenade out!
I got you, let's go. Changing back!
That would have been dope. Not me. No, fucking Easter basket.
What, the whole basket?
Yeah. Just the basket.
Oh, the basket.
It's an Easter basket. Here.
I thought it was everything included. Oh! I knew they was gonna get me. I told you Walmart ain't got shit. I told you Target ain't had shit.
The actual basket colors all go to Walmart.
I gotta live. With the wine. Toys at Target, baskets at Wally World.
Enemy Wilson deployed. Enemy cruise missile incoming. Hostile strike ready. I see movement.
The fuck is this?
Enemy sentry gun active.
Target marked. Send it. Wilson down.
Enemy cruise missile incoming.
Nice. I did my thing. Lit their ass up. Shit, that should have bumped me up. Fuck! I ain't never did that before. That was dope.
Grenade out! Reloading.
Fuck! Bitch got me. You good. You a good bitch, little bitch. Little baby bitch. Little baby bitch got me. Is that fly still alive in this motherfucker? Yeah, it's been like 3 days, 4 days. He must be getting food and water from murder. A flyer's lifespan is how many human days? That's what I need to find out. Cause if it's like 30, then I give up.
Enemy at the electronics store.
I'm so tired right now.
At Walmart for the doll, the accessories for the doll that I want to get for Mimi.
Oh, I almost thought you was getting the dog an Easter basket for a second. I'm like, what? I've got 2 niggas shooting at me. I hate when you look at me and whine. Thank you. Look the other way and whine.
Enemy at the gun shop.
Taking fire!
Enemy cluster strike incoming. Take cover.
Bitch, you silly. You did all that just to get me.
Objective failed. Report back to base.
What was it?
Mm-mm.
Surgeons?
What you watching, bro? Sonya. What you watching, bro? Nah. That's a bad Barbie. See, I know Bad Baby voice because I used to kick it with her.
To the streets to talk about credit. Let's go. Can your credit score impact your job? No. Cut the confusion at creditrepair.com.
Meet the best way for guys to lose weight. Nutrisystem for men. It's a high-protein, science-backed plan that's designed to burn fat and preserve lean body mass. Call or go online right now to save 50%. You'll get 4 weeks of hearty, filling meals made for your body to give you the energy you need to power through the day. Plus, stay connected and focused on your goal with our free Lean Yumi app. Go to Nutrisystem.com/men right now to save 50%.
I've been telling everyone, the secret to great teeth is having healthy gums.
New Crest Advanced Gum Restore detoxifies below the gum line and restores by helping heal gums in as little as 7 days. Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America.
Did you know that Cutco is now a health and wellness company?
I adore their groomers.
And the rich.
Our physical, social, and mental health cared for in one place. Cutco, the health and wellness company.
Look at this. Look at this. Bang, field, wang. Bang, field, wang. Pull the fuck up. I told you my house number is #5. Oh, nah, but you not, folks. I got to come to your house.
That's all I need tonight. Change the light.
Yeah, I'm with an upwards review. Turn the corner, darling.
Hi, darling. You might get lucky I get you home tonight.
Oh, well, that'd be enough time.
Christ, it was a tough run, though.
Oh, I was beginning to think you couldn't pick your nose, let alone a winner.
I tell you what, the bookies are running the cover, they see me coming. I got a wedge on me you couldn't hurdle over. That's what you need in this town. Decent sized wedge.
Big, I thought you were going to get new batteries for these.
Yeah, right, I'll just find it. Hope it don't fall off my wallet. I know you can break his leg falling on this side.
millionaire, armed robber, race fixer, drug dealer, and gambler. He thought he could be king of the Sydney underworld. And this is Tough Nuts, Australia's hardest criminals. Tonight we examine the rise and fall of Michael Mick Sayers. Sayers was a convicted armed robber, drug dealer, and murderer. But above all, he was a compulsive gambler. He would think nothing of betting $100,000 on the turn of a card or the bob of a horse's head. His biggest gamble, however, was trying to gain control of crime in Australia's largest city. Through dramatized scenes, psychological analysis, and interviews with Sayers' friends, associates, and family members, we will give a full picture of the greed, ambition, and compulsions that took Sayers on a journey from happy childhood to chalk outline.
Michael Sayers was a hardened career criminal, and he committed all crimes from murder down.
Do I look like I'm kidding?
He was dangerous because he had money and he could pay people to do what was necessary if he felt a threat against his life.
Mick Sayers was no pussycat. No. Mick Sayers could look after himself, and Mick Sayers got big, strong friends.
Well, once he got involved in the drug trade, he saw himself as a future king of crime, and he got in the road and they bumped him off.
I've got the money!
He loved gambling. That was his whole life, gambling. I suppose you could say that was his whole life, a big gamble.
Whether you're curling or crunching, running or riding, lifting. Get comfy, son. We're gonna go for a little drive.
Mr. Reagan.
What's this?
That's all there is, I'm afraid.
What do you mean Mom's been doing?
It's been slow, I told you that.
What can't you take it for yourself?
Nothing. I've paid the girls, I haven't taken my wage out yet.
So you're gonna miss out again.
No way, I've got bills to pay.
Every hand is busting my guts trying to do my best for this business, and you're sitting on your dumb slut fickle doing nothing. If I wasn't so busy, I'll give you a real hiding. What do you figure out? You know what they call me? They call me the magician. You want to know why? I'm the magician because I make people disappear. And guess what, son? You're going to be part of the act. It's all right, mate. You don't have to do anything. I've got this down pat now. I've been making people disappear since I was 19. The only trouble is, I haven't figured out how to bring them back.
Meet Stuart John Regan, gangster, pimp, multiple murderer, and psychopath. Welcome to Tough Nuts, Australia's hardest criminals. I'm Tara Moss. Tonight we separate fact from fiction and examine the life of Stuart John Regan, the magician. Regan was a dangerous, vicious criminal who killed multiple times. Many of his victims simply vanished off the face of the earth. Regan enjoyed inflicting pain and was considered a psychopath. He attacked indiscriminately, taunted police, and even killed a young child in cold blood. Tonight, through dramatized scenes, first-hand accounts, and detailed analysis, we paint a portrait of a violent criminal who reveled in his reputation as the most ruthless and feared man in the Sydney underworld.
He was the Houdini of homicide, if you like, the Merlin of murder. He just destroyed people, had no hesitation in carving people up whenever he wanted to get rid of someone.
He was one of the worst human beings that ever walked the streets of Sydney. He was a child murderer, he was a psychopath, he was just a horrible human being who ultimately got his just desserts.
There is no doubt that he was a psychopath.
Will stop working. When I tell you, you can stop working.
He was just a vicious, violent man.
For some of the criminals, murder is the last resort. For Regan, it was the first port of call.
From a young age, Regan enjoyed the suffering of others. As a child, he tortured and killed animals for pleasure, and by his teens, he was using brutal violence to control prostitutes in Sydney's red light districts. Regan attacked his rivals, raped and bashed the prostitutes he controlled, and killed repeatedly. His fearsome reputation also meant few would stand in his way, afraid of being vanished by the magician.
John Regan earned the nickname the Magician, and it had nothing to do with his prestigious abilities. People who befriended John Regan tended to disappear, thus he was called the Magician.
The nickname arose out of the fact that several people that he had dealings with disappeared, never to be seen again, and the fact that he was never ever charged in any way in connection with those people.
He relished having this reputation. He gloried in it. He loved everyone to hate him and to have this absolute fear of him.
The police that I spoke to at the time figured that he'd done at least 8 murders. Now, there may well have been more. Nobody Regan really knew that. The police knew of at least 8 people who were friends of Regan's or cohorts of Regan's who disappeared. And Regan knew that everyone knew that he made these people disappear.
Psychologist Janet Hall believes that just like a real magician, Regan would have practiced his macabre skills and found satisfaction in what he did.
I reckon he would have absolutely enjoyed being called the magician. It would have made him feel special, empowered, and also fed his ego in terms of, there were no boundaries.
If you look at the profile of the sadist, is someone who likes to be in charge, who likes to be in control. So if he's got a name which gives him that identity, that fits very nicely with his psychological makeup, his sense of self. That's what I'm known as.
They call me the Magician.
It's part and parcel of his capacity to inspire fear in others and get his own way. The other thing about it is these guys are pretty narcissistic. They really like themselves. They don't like anybody else, but they really like themselves. And so, yeah, this kind of stuff, when he gets nicknamed and he's been given special powers and all that kind of stuff, that'd be really feeding his ego something fierce.
Regan's reputation as a psychopath meant that as he carved out a criminal empire and started taking over legitimate businesses, he met little resistance. By his mid-20s, he was running large numbers of prostitutes, owned a couple of women's dress shops, and was expanding into real estate, car rebirthing, and TV rentals.
John Regan started off just as a violent street hood, and of course from Paddington he gravitated to King's Cross, to the Darlinghurst area, where illegal gambling, prostitution proliferated. Men and women feared him, and in fact some of the heaviest gangsters in Sydney at the time were very wary of John Regan.
Well, he's such a psychopath that he would maim and injure people, including the females that he controlled.
No way, I've got bills to pay.
Both the police and the criminals themselves were in great fear of a man whose behaviour was totally unpredictable, but was always violent.
He grew up with this violent streak, vicious streak, and it got worse as he got older. He was a real stand-up man, and as I said, a real psychopath. He was mad.
Of all the criminals I ever knew or dealt with as a crime reporter, Regan would probably have been the most vicious and deadly of the lot. The most heartless.
If I wasn't so busy, I'll give you a real hiding. Throw your finger out!
After the break, we examine Regan's childhood and the early warning signs which were missed, allowing a disturbed child to become a murderer. For the magician was practicing his dark arts from a very young age.
Where'd you get that shit? Trapped in little bastards running around sitting at home. What are you gonna do with it? I was gonna show you a little magic trick.
Welcome back to Tough Nuts and Stuart John Regan, the magician. Regan was born in 1945 in the New South Wales town of Young. An only child, his mother Claire thought him strong-willed, while he in turn called her the Colonel, a nickname that maybe hints that discipline was an issue. Regan struggled at school, and his mother blamed him for expecting things to fall in his lap. But according to our investigations, there were darker factors at play. From a very early age, Regan was exhibiting some of the classic behaviors of a psychopath.
His mother and father lived at Young. As I say, a young fella lived at Young. And there he was known to perform evil tricks on animals. And he also, his father was a pretty rough old shearer.
Regan, as a young kid, was always on the way to becoming a criminal. He displayed the tendencies of violence, viciousness, even when he was a young juvenile.
Well, he would get dogs and cats, small ones and kittens and puppies, and torture them to his own satisfaction, then kill them.
Psychologists assess men like Regan for the courts and agree that the disturbing behavior he exhibited as a young child indicated an incredibly troubled mind.
It's often very hard to predict who's going to become a criminal and who isn't. But one of the main indicators is somebody who is cruel to animals. And we're talking about really cruel, things that most little kids wouldn't even dream of doing, and torturing them and getting pleasure out of that torture.
Torturing and or killing pet animals is an early indicator of an expression of inner hostility. Such an individual, as they grow older, will then extend that very same hostility towards not just animals, but to the people around them.
It indicates that as an adult, he's going to get pleasure out of hurting people, out of deliberately causing them pain and making them suffer. And that basically gives him a sense of power, and also gets, his jollies. He gets his jollies out of that.
What made Regan's torture and killing of animals even more disturbing was that he enjoyed having an audience for his murderous deeds. It satisfied him on two levels, for he could psychologically terrorize the other kids whilst inflicting gruesome and fatal torture on his unfortunate animal victim.
Where'd you get that shit? Trapped in little bastards running around sitting at home. What are you gonna do with it? I was gonna show you a little magic trick. For my next trick, I'll need a pitchfork. What a coincidence. Don't hurt it, Stu. It's just a possum. How about I hurt you instead? Where you going, Joe? I gotta go to the toilet. You better stay right there or you're next. Now, before I was rudely interrupted, I was going to show you blokes a little magic trick. Let's pretend the possum in this sack is Joe's face. Everyone got that? Can everyone see Joe's face in this sack here? It's enough, Stu. It's dead.
Regan was known amongst amongst the people who knew him here in Sydney, amongst police reporters, as not only a psychopath but a sociopath. No one was surprised to learn that as a child he killed animals, he harmed animals. He just had no empathy for any living being whatsoever.
As a kid, he was killing dogs and cats, sitting back smiling, watching them die. Later on, he actually speared a possum with a pitchfork and watched it die.
It's not shoot. It's dead.
He was just something that should have been disposed of before it was ever unleashed on society.
You're bloody mad, Regan.
Forensic psychologist Chris Lennings believes animal torture hints at psychopathy.
There's certainly a link between childhood and early adolescent cruelty to animals and later psychopathic behaviour. So when you see that kind of behaviour occurring, you do start to worry about the extent to which a person just really is psychopathic in intent, violent, aggressive, without moral constraint, and likely to go on to do terrible things.
So the development from doing it to animals to doing it to people just happens naturally as his sense of power does. So as soon as he's grown into a strong enough, big enough body, he can start, pushing other kids around. So it probably would have happened, really just in early primary school, that he would have started bullying people and hurting people.
Part of the whole thing about being a psychopath is that it's not just the powers. You like to inflict pain. You don't have any moral constraint on doing that. You find some means of meeting your needs, pleasure, call it what you will, in being able to do terrible things to animals, to people. That's what a psychopath is. They're a person who utilises brutal force in getting what it is that they want.
Author and journalist Norm Lipson recalls a particular episode illustrating Regan's psychopathic nature.
One time he was upset with somebody who he thought had wronged him. He bashed this fellow to a pulp, put a dog collar on him and a chain, made him go on all fours to the local pub where he belittled him all day, made him sit on all fours like a dog, slapped him around, shoved raw meat in his mouth, just because he thought he'd been wronged by this fellow.
People who have psychopathy are extremely antisocial. They have their own set of rules which are grounded on their own experience and value systems, and those value systems and rules that they live by often bear no resemblance to the ones that you and I are supposed to live by. I suppose to get to the top of the food chain, you need a certain level of focus, and psychopaths have this kind of focus. They're ambitious, their families come second, third and fourth, and they do the job that they have to do to the best of their ability, and that's their value system.
Dealing with a psychopathic teenager was certainly not something the criminal fraternity or the police were used to. After the break, Regan makes the move to Sydney and cuts his teeth in the violent world of pimping.
Give her the drum on the rates?
Yes, Mr. Regan.
It's not your job, is it?
No, Mr. Regan.
Welcome back to Tough Nuts and Stuart John Regan, the magician. Regan's parents divorced when he was young, and he moved to Sydney with his mother. Here he progressed from hurting animals to inflicting pain on people. By his early teens, he was attacking strangers in the street, and aged just 14, he was sent to the brutal Gosford Reformatory. There he met other up-and-coming criminals, including future murderer Arthur Nettie Smith, who described Regan as having the coldest eyes he'd ever seen. Psychologists agree that children incarcerated so young inevitably have their development affected by the experience.
So in psychology we talk about how people learn to be the people they are. And so we learn through modelling, that is copying others. The other way we learn is in response to our environment or what happens to us. So if somebody's been abused, violated, punished, they learn that perhaps that's something that makes you feel bad, but it gives you a sense of power to inflict it on somebody else.
Especially in places like Gosford Boys Home, not only were they not being given the pro-social kinds of skills that they needed, but they were also being exposed to really anti-social influences, not just from their peers, but also from the people who were in authority, the people who should have been providing deterrence or the correction that was, hopefully gained by placing them there in the first place.
Regan served 9 months in Gosford, but instead of returning to school on his release, he focused on his criminal career, and while still a teenager, made his move into pimping.
Amazingly, at 17, Regan totes up his first conviction for living off the earnings of prostitution. He's a person who, because he's not very smart, but he is so violent and unpredictable, is immediately feared by madams who run suburban brothels in Sydney. He literally arrives at the door of some of these places and demands standover money, and the madams who are already paying standover money elsewhere quickly find that the protection they thought they had doesn't exist, because a lot of the criminals who are in the world supposedly providing standover do not want to deal with Regan.
Regan was a man who inspired fear wherever he went. As Nettie Smith, who was incarcerated with Regan at Gosford, would later write, Regan had always wanted to join the army so he could kill people with no questions asked. But he had been rejected. Unable to satisfy his bloodlust through legal means, Regan unleashed his own personal war on the streets of Sydney and on the prostitutes the 17-year-old pimp controlled.
So who do we have here?
This is Mandy, Mr. Regan. And you go?
Where you from, Mandy?
I live in Haddington.
Give her the drum on the rates.
Yes, Mr. Regan.
It's not your job, is it?
No, Mr. Regan.
Whose job is it, Cheryl?
Yours, Mr. Regan.
Good girl. Good looking, Philly. Won't stay that way forever, but while you are, can make us both a good quid. Rule number 1, I'm the fucking boss, and what I say goes. Got a problem with a punter? We get knocked up, you come tell me, I'll sort you.
Yes, Mr. Regan.
The house gets 60, you get 40. Special rate just for you. Then we renegotiate.
Yes, Mr. Regan.
And a bit of free advice? When I put these gloves on, make yourself scarce.
Yes, Mr. Regan.
Now, come and show me what you're good at.
Around the areas of Darlinghurst and the Cross, around the brothel type areas and the suburban pubs, he was known then as a basher and a sort of a guy who would, if you upset him, you ran the risk of him going to kill you.
John Regan built up a stable of prostitutes. He made quite a lot of money out of that, and he controlled them through fear and violence. If they didn't hand over as much money as he thought they should have, he slapped them around. If he found out that there was a customer who was misbehaving or wasn't paying, they'd be beaten within an inch of their lives.
He had no feelings for anybody, be it female or male. They were just there as items for him to use, abuse if he had to, and make money out of it.
John Regan wouldn't care where he'd discipline his prostitutes. If he had to do it in the street in the middle of King's Cross, he'd do it. He was vicious. He'd make an example of one, and then the others would fall into line. Simple as that.
Regan's cruelty and violence towards women as a teenage pimp echoed his callous torture of animals as a child.
That's part of that sadistic profile, that humiliation, that control, that domination, which fits that whole profile of disempowering women and him being empowered. And that's part of that pimping process.
When you study psychology, sometimes we talk about how they basically have no sense of soul, and it's all about using a body to make money, and that body better do as it's told.
He'll use whatever means necessary. There'll be development of fear, the threat of violence, either the exploitation through drug use. They're essentially will be trapping people to do what he wants to do. But he'll revert to the use of force fairly quickly if there's any opposition.
Regan's violence also extended to friends, associates, and random victims.
John Regan would bash people in the street as soon as look at them. I've heard many stories of Regan bashing people, stubbing cigarettes, lit cigarettes in their faces.
Regan was a dangerous man. Regan had always been a dangerous man. Regan was known to be a dangerous man for his own particular ends. He made associations to suit himself. He ended associations to suit himself. He killed his peers, he killed his rivals, he killed anyone and hurt anyone who got in his way. Regan was a significantly unattractive man in gangster terms.
I remember a story about Regan being in King's Cross with a friend, and he had come across somebody he'd had a disagreement with, bashed him to a pulp, and as the guy lay on the ground, mortally wounded, Regan turned to his friend who was smoking a cigarette, made him give him the cigarette, and he stubbed that lit cigarette in the person's eye. That's how vicious Regan was.
Regan's sadistic enjoyment of ultra-violence made him a man to be feared. It was only a matter of time before the violent thug graduated to murder. After the break, the magician makes his first kill and gets a rude shock as a tough cop finally takes him on.
You keen-eating piece of shit.
What's it got to do with you, Mackie?
That's Detective Sergeant Gil Mackie to you, boy, and you're under arrest.
Yes,
Welcome back to Tough Nuts and the story of Stuart John Regan, the magician. By his early 20s, Regan had made a name for himself as a brutal and violent pimp. He was also racking up a substantial police record with charges for assault, robbery, and rape. With the money rolling in, Regan expanded his empire, buying property, opening a couple of women's dress shops, and running car rebirthing scams. But Regan was a very dangerous man to do business with.
Of all people, John Regan actually opened a woman's boutique in Double Bay, selling women's clothes, frocks, the latest styles. And a very famous crime reporter at the time, who worked for the Daily Mirror newspaper, called Bill Jenkins, wrote a story about that boutique and intimated that Regan was selling stolen goods from that boutique. Well, that really angered John Regan. And he told reporters that he was going to kill Bill Jenkins. Now, Bill spoke to me about that. Bill feared for his life, he feared for his family's lives, and for Bill to be frightened was a rare event. Luckily for Bill, Regan disappeared before he could do anything to Bill.
One of Regan's business partners was standover man and brothel manager Big Barry Flock. Early in 1967, Regan and Flock fell out over $800. Small change to a man like Regan, but enough to kill for.
One of the early murders by Regan was a fellow called Barry Flock. Now, he was also a pimp.
Regan became involved with him, and the two of them invested in a ladies' dress shop across the road from a brothel in Bondi Junction. There was a dispute about an amount of money, $800.
And his body was just found in the grounds of a hospital. No real indication of who it was, except the underworld was totally convinced it was Regan.
The police know that Regan was involved in it, and this is a classic falling out of somebody who 2 days earlier is in partnership with Regan.
Flock's body was discovered in the grounds of the Scottish Hospital in Paddington. He had been shot 4 times. Regan was brought in for questioning, but without any proof, police were unable to press charges. Regan's war on Sydney had begun.
There were 4 early murders, all were pimps, and they all just went.
He got away with a hell of a lot. He got away with at least 6 or 8 murders. And the police could never prove it, but the police were always after him, always hassling him, always on his back, always following him, and Regan didn't like that.
Allegations of assault, perverting the course of justice, burglary, and other charges just fell by the wayside simply because you couldn't find witnesses who testified. They were too scared of him.
Regan was drawing a lot of police attention, but covered his tracks carefully. And despite being linked to a number of murders, he remained free. But even murder couldn't satisfy Regan's bloodlust. His need for violence was so overwhelming, it started to become ritualized, with overtones of a sexual fetish.
Regan used to love to wear leather gloves, black leather gloves, and when he felt in the mood that he was going to get into a fight, and it wouldn't matter who it was, he'd pick somebody at random, he'd put these gloves on and just pick somebody and start belting them.
He embraced violence like an old friend. He loved it, but he would need to get himself going to such an extent he would go out and at random just bash people anonymously in the street just for thrills.
That's the sort of fellow Regan was. I mean, it could have been your grandfather. Regan wouldn't care. He'd king your grandfather.
One of the really dangerous aspects of Regan was that even quite young, he saw that violating somebody and really causing them harm was fun. It was sport. And in wearing, black gloves, there is some kind of sexual fetish. It's a real turn on to use that power of surprise, attack and pain. He would have gotten really, excited by that in a way that perhaps somebody else would have with their first love.
With the underworld afraid to take him on and the cops unable to charge him, Regan ran amok on the streets of Sydney, killing and bashing at will. There was only one man Regan ever deferred to, the only man brave enough to teach him a bit of respect.
Oi! Here, where are you? The bloke had a tumble. Fell over. Just like that. Nothing to do with me.
You king-eating piece of shit.
What's it got to do with you, Mackie?
That's Detective Sergeant Gil Mackey to you, boy, and you're under arrest.
You didn't see nothing.
Yeah, I did. And so did our little mate having a snooze here.
I reckon by the time this goes to court, this fella's going to have a change of heart about getting in the box.
You think you got it all sorted out, don't you?
Your words, not mine.
Why don't I take you back to the cells and I'll see if I'll sort you out a bit more back there, eh?
What do you reckon? You lose that fucking badge, you pig. See how you get on even now.
Consider it done. I'll tell you what. I'll even let you get the first one in.
You know I know you won't charge me, Connor.
Scout's honour. You just go your hardest, boy. See you around here again. I'm going to give you another hiding. That's going to make this blue seem like a fucking pillow fight. You got that? Am I making myself clear to you now? I'm not a fucking sir, boy. I'm Detective Sergeant Mack to you.
Detective Sergeant Mack.
Oh, clean yourself up, boy.
Yes, Detective Sergeant.
The interesting thing about Regan is he feared no one. It became almost legendary within the criminal milieu that the only person he ever deferred to was a policeman named Gil Mackey, who at one point ended up taking on Regan physically and gave Regan a beating.
He was in the Australian Army, and we all called him Major. But I don't know whether he attained those heights, but he was a noted and respected member of the armed forces. He was as hard as they come, and he didn't mind a little bit of fisticuffs.
He wasn't scared of Regan. He wasn't scared of anybody, Mackie, and he used to hassle Regan quite a bit, and Regan got upset with him one time and told him that if he ever wanted to take his badge off, he'd look after him.
Don't you lose that fucking badge, you pig! See how you get on here now.
The sergeant dealt him a bit of summary justice. And as a result, Gill was the only police officer, to my knowledge, that Regan had any respect for at all after that.
Yes, Detective Sergeant Mackey.
Forensic psychologist Chris Lennings has dealt with offenders like Regan, assessing them for the courts.
It's very primitive, isn't it? It's that kind of wolf stuff, you know, you beat me and then you're a leader of the pack kind of stuff. That's a very primitive response. And it surprises me to a certain extent, because you would have thought that the primary aspect of the narcissism that underpins someone who's psychopathic is that if you are challenged, then you have this rage where you need to get revenge. So the fact that he falls back into this kind of more primitive difference stuff is quite interesting.
Well, I suppose it's like the psychology of any bully. They're standover men as long as they get away with it. The minute one person stands up to them and puts them down, like Mackie did with Regan, then you defer to that person who put you down.
After the break, the magician takes one step too far and goes from the most feared man in Sydney to the most despised.
This is the last night I'm doing it. I want to be home with my boy.
You'll stop working. I tell you, you can stop working.
Welcome back to Tough Nuts and the story of Stuart John Regan, the magician. By his mid-20s, Regan was running a vice empire built on fear and extreme violence. After killing Barry Flock, the magician's murders became more strategic. He knocked off Ross Christie, a partner in his dress shop, then disposed of Eric the Monkey Williams to consolidate his hold on Sydney's brothels. That wasn't all.
He was involved in somewhere between 6 and 10 murders. 1 minute the criminal is seen, the next minute they're gone. A good example was the criminal Kevin Victor Gore, who was one of the notorious toe cutter gang.
Well, the toe cutters were a gang of Melbourne crooks who used to torture other crooks. So Regan befriended a fellow called Gore, who was one of the toe cutter gang, and Gore disappeared.
He is last seen walking down the street with Johnny Regan. The next day he's reported missing. He's never seen again.
And I've got no doubt that Regan ended up with Gore's cash.
By the early 1970s, Regan's murderous crime spree and blatant empire building meant he came to the attention of the Team, the feared group of gangsters who ran Sydney's underworld.
Well, by the time he was in his early 20s and running his prostitutes and delving into other areas, he captured the attention of other criminals, including George Freeman, Lenny McPherson, and people who were watching him with a wary eye.
He managed to get himself in the milieu, so to speak, because the gangsters of the time thought it better to have him inside the tent than outside the tent.
I remember Lenny McPherson talking to me once about criminals. He said, you can control a bad man, but you can't control a madman. And that's exactly what Stuart John Regan was.
By this point, Regan was considered so mad and so dangerous that the Team's George Freeman, a feared gangster himself, commented that he struck fear into the hearts of everyone he met. Regan reveled in his notoriety, employing bodyguards, carrying a gun, and wearing a bulletproof vest. No one was safe, and women who were unlucky enough to attract his attention suffered violence, rape, and jealous rages. One girlfriend, Helen Scott Huey, suffered perhaps the worst fate of all. On the night of May 22nd, 1974, Helen left her young son Carlos in Regan's care while she went to work in a nightclub.
Yeah, what about Carlos? I can't look after him, I've got to go to work. Well, you promised you'd pick him up and take him. Yeah. How sick are you? Righto. Yeah, the club will have to do without me. You're hopeless. I can't go in. I've got to look after Carlos.
Bull's fucking ass. You got to get to work. This joint isn't going to pay for itself.
I haven't had a night off with Carlos in months. I need a break.
Get to work. I'll take care of him.
He's just a little boy who needs his mum. I need to feed him. I need to settle him down to sleep.
I said forget it. I'll take care of him. Carlos. What do you want to eat, Carlos?
Ice cream.
There you go. I'll get him an ice cream.
He can't eat ice cream for dinner.
Now you listen to me. The boy's staying here with me, and you're going to go out and earn some fucking money, got it?
I want to be home with my boy.
You'll stop working. When I tell you, you can stop working. I said I'll look after your fucking kid. You want to pull the pin, you and the kid are out in the street.
Perhaps the final straw for everyone concerning Regan and his future came in unbelievable circumstances and involving a crime so odious it can't really be believed.
The theory was that Regan, who had a bad temper, was babysitting Carlos while his mother was out working, earning a quid. He somehow killed Carlos to cover his tracks. He dumped Carlos's body somewhere and then contacted the police in a panic to say that someone had taken Carlos.
Regan told police he took Carlos out for only a few minutes and the boy was abducted from his car while Regan bought a newspaper. No one believed him.
Now, the police and the whole underworld had no doubt that Regan had basically lost at some point his legendary temper, killed the boy, he's got rid of the body, but nobody can prove anything. The boy was never seen again. Everybody knows it's to do with Regan's temper.
Well, he's a complete psychopath, and his story was an absolute falsehood, and I have no doubt that he killed the little kid.
In true magician style, Regan's youngest victim simply vanished.
From my point of view, it was a very intensive investigation at the time, which unfortunately came to nothing. Whilst there was great suspicion, the investigating police couldn't get it beyond that.
And no body was found. No bodies were ever found of Regan's victims. So it was hard for the police and everyone to pursue. But obviously it caused a furor among the public. You can't have children disappearing, presumably murdered, and do nothing.
Now, that had really sealed his fate with everyone, with the coppers, with the crooks. To do something like that really was beyond the pale. And even the crooks had a code of honour, and that had broken that code.
Forensic psychologists believe Regan may have killed Carlos because he felt threatened.
The girlfriend's supposed to love him. What would be a threat to that love? Her child. What would a mother generally love more, a boyfriend or the biological child? Typically, we'd say they would love the biological child. Sadists are very egocentric and very narcissistic. It's a very obvious characteristic of these sorts of people. So here is an opportunity to get rid of any threat to his girlfriend's affection towards him.
Some believe Regan did take Carlos out that night, but not for a newspaper.
You know what people call me? Carlos. Listen, they call me the magician. You know why?
Why?
Because I make people disappear. You want to see? Now, you climb in here, give me your ice cream, there you are. And say the magic words.
Abracadabra.
If he was trying to get back at the mother, this was just a very convenient and obvious way of doing it. He would have planned how to get rid of the body. He was good at that. And he would have just done it just like, somebody else might go to the supermarket. He would have no remorse, no shame, no sense of being, basically lowest of the low. It's just what he could do, and he did it.
Regan was a vicious psychopath who since childhood had taken pleasure in the suffering of others. Now under investigation for murder, instead of lying low, he milked his moment of fame, taunting police by pretending to search for Carlos's body and supplying the media with false leads, suggesting Carlos was buried under a house.
I remember, where he put dog bones or something down at Woolloomooloo and said, there's bones there, probably this is where this little bloke is. And he'd do that because that would be his kick, being a psychopath. That would be, he'd be getting a huge amount of fun out of that.
It's inflicting pain by setting out the bones. It's also another way of him laughing, getting the police to run. So it's about also, again, his way of trying to control the community, trying to control people, because that's what he's really become very skilled at.
Part of what he's doing is to set up a system whereby people won't believe that it's him. A part of what he's doing also is letting people know he's taking the mickey out of them. He'd know the difference between a dog bone and a baby bone, and he'd know that they would know the difference between a dog bone and a baby bone. So what he's really doing is just having a go at them.
Regan had raped and murdered his way around Sydney, but his wild bloodlust couldn't go unchecked forever. When we return, the magician finally runs out of magic.
Hello, Johnny. You're going to show me the ropes at last. Well, you've been pestering me long enough. I reckon you deserve it. Ain't that the truth?
Welcome back to Tough Nuts and the story of Stuart John Regan, the magician. In 1974, Regan worked his black magic on Carlos, a young child he was babysitting. Carlos's murder drew huge publicity, but without a body, Regan walked free. Everyone knew he was guilty, and with the police unable to act, pressure mounted on Sydney's underworld to do something about him. Plenty of people muttered behind Regan's back, but the only man brave enough to call him a child murderer to his face was Ratty Jack Clark, a fellow standover man and freelance killer.
Ratty Jack accused John Regan, he was the first person to do it to his face, accused John Regan of having killed the boy. Well, not long after that, Regan shot Ratty Jack Clark, and that was another reason that John Regan had to go. Ratty Jack Clark was a well-liked man, and that was the final straw.
They decided, whoever they were, this bastard, he's no good for anyone. He's no good for us as criminals. He's no good for the community. He's a danger to everyone. Look at the number of people he's got rid of, including that little kid. It's time we did our job, and I think that's exactly what they did. And good on them, and I'm glad they did it.
Regan had to go, but arranging his murder wasn't going to be easy. Paranoid, he was always armed and wore a bulletproof vest. It would take veteran crime lord Frederick Paddles Anderson, one of the few men Regan trusted, to disarm him so the team could finish the job.
Here he is. How's it going, son?
G'day, Paddles. How's it going, mate?
Big day for you today. Big step up to the big league.
Mate, I've been aiming at this for years, so thanks for setting it up.
No sweat. You're a good boy. Good earner. Everyone's impressed. That's why George is going to show you the ropes. This is rivers of gold, son.
Bring it on. So, George at the club?
Yeah. You can't go there carrying. Shooters scare the shit out of George.
Mate, I'm always carrying.
Well, you can't take it. George will dirty up.
What am I supposed to do with it?
Give it to me. I'll get it back to you. I'm your guardian angel. No one can touch you while I'm your sponsor. What about your ankle? Got a piece there?
Mate, I'm fucking naked.
Look, don't worry. George will set you right. Just listen to him. Listen and learn. You're playing A grade now.
He's waiting for me now.
He's outside the club waiting. pleasure with me.
Juiceman.
Hello, Johnny.
You better show me the ropes at last.
Well, you know, you've been pestering me long enough. I reckon you deserve it.
Ain't that the truth?
First thing I need to do is introduce you to Stan.
Huh? Hello, Johnny. No!
You're next, George.
6, 7. And this one's for the kid, you fucking shit.
The ultimate say for these things was in the hands of Frederick Charles Paddles Anderson, whose history goes way back. He was the boss of bosses, above the Mr. Biggs and everyone else.
Paddles Anderson, who knew Regan quite well and over a long period of time, and who Regan did trust, and he didn't trust very many people, had arranged a meeting. In fact, it was Paddles Anderson who disarmed Regan before the meeting.
As he walked out of that club onto the street that night, for some reason there were no cars in that street at that time. They were blocked off on both ends, and a hail of bullets hit Regan.
No!
You could hear the cheers all over Sydney.
It allowed them to present themselves as responsible gangsters. They were not going to have people who abused children, killed children. That was not on. And it also showed them that they could solve problems that perhaps the police and the politicians couldn't.
Forensic psychologist Sandy Ray believes Regan's ego would have been his undoing.
He would have been disarmed very easily because he's a narcissist. And not only is he a narcissist, he's a smart ass. So he actually is at the point where he thought he was untouchable, invincible. Again, that illusion of invulnerability. No one is going to get to me.
This is rivers of gold, son.
Bring it on.
And to be encouraged by someone who he admired or liked, just at that moment it was a weakness. And I think he would have been most surprised at the consequence of what happened. That it was a ritualistic death.
George Freeman and Stan Smith each had a .38 revolver. It was a ritualized killing. Regan was shot 8 times, once for each of the magician's kills.
The symbolism of Regan's murder was crystal clear to those around. That if you step out of line, if you do things that are barbaric, illegal's okay, barbaric is not. And you will be dealt with.
I think that criminals do have some kind of a code of ethics, and the killing of a child is, truly breaking that code. They would have hated him for that.
And this one's for the kid, you fucking piece of shit.
And the fact that he was shot by leading members of the underworld, including Stan Smith and George Freeman, the body was left in the street. It was a clear signal. Don't mess with us. We will come at you, and you will be left face down in a pool of blood.
And so it's a marvellous dramatic stage, isn't it, the way that they've set that up so that they take full power back and intimidate everybody else who might have wanted to be a Regan.
When Regan's death was announced in Long Bay Jail, there was loud cheering from the prisoners. When former detective Roger Rogerson heard Regan was dead, he headed to the morgue to see the man who'd caused so much misery laid out on a slab.
There he was lying on this slab like all dead people are who are about to have a post-mortem performed upon them, naked. And we were all amazed. He still had this smirk on his face. He had a scar on his face, I remember, and he had a smirk. Even in death, he was lying there. But as I said, whoever did it, and there's sort of conjecture as to who did it, I think they really should have all got a medal because they did something that had to be done.
He was an accident waiting to happen. He was always going to live by the sword. He was going to die by it. There was nothing surer that he was never going to make old bones.
To have built up a reputation the way he had and to have been feared and despised, you just can't believe that he only lived 29 years. He did all of that all those evil things in 29 years. At 29, he was dead. But his legend, despite the evilness of it, the wickedness of it, his legend lives on.
Regan's murder has never been officially solved, as no one was prepared to inform against the killers of someone as odious as Regan. After a life spent inflicting pain on others, Regan's most appropriate epitaph came from George Freeman, one of his killers. He said the awful thing was he just liked hurting people. He was a sadistic killer, and what made him dangerous was that he was always in control of himself. See you next time on Tough Nuts, Australia's hardest criminals.
Turn today's dreams into tomorrow's trips with millions of flexible booking options all in one place. Expedia.
De la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo, viene bajando un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo de contrabando. Ay, 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 canta y no llora.
Hi, I'm Tara Moss. Welcome to Tough Nuts, Australia's hardest criminals. As a crime writer, I've always been fascinated not just with the crime itself, but with the question of what made them do it. In Tough Nuts, we'll go behind the headlines and peel away the psychological layers to discover what really made and motivated some of the most vicious thugs and killers in Australia's history. Tonight, Tough Nuts examines the dark life of Christopher Dale Flannery, Australia's most notorious hitman.